All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Lesher, and I will be doing today's webinar. George is here today, but he wanted me to I'll be probably doing most webinars from here on out, so you'll be seeing a lot of me on these webinars. So today's topics, we're going to go through the updates we did in February. Obviously, on February 21st, the ESTA law went into effect. So there also the state of Michigan have some updates for that. I will be going through some of the key updates. We did a lot of improvements in the help document, so I want to highlight those. And it's been a little over a year ago since we released our new financials menu items in General Ledger. So I want to revisit those and kind of go through those again. As always, you can unmute to ask a question, or you can type your question in the chat box. I will leave time at the end of each section for questions if you have any. Our next webinar is tentatively on April 7th at 10 a.m. And as of now, we haven't decided on what topics we will be discussing. So as stated before, today's agenda is updates, the new ESTA rules, help document updates, and then going through an overview of our financials again. So the first change that we did was in fixed assets, when you're entering a new fixed asset item, the code will default to FA plus the next number not used. So I'm going to go ahead and show that here. So if you are in fixed assets and you click on new, the default code will automatically default to FA, whatever your next number is. So again, if I hit cancel and then hit new again, it'll update to the next number. That way, if your system had you just used FA and next number, your system will automatically continue doing that. I believe that was the way in the old fixed asset mates, so we decided to make that with the right. All our date selections in our new window style got the update to improve the user experience and consistency. So we noticed that a lot of our date times were different between windows. So we spent some time and came up with what we felt like was what we wanted for all our date times, and then decided to make that for all windows. So you should see a lot more consistency, and hopefully it should be a lot easier to use. All the anytime you have to enter a date, it should be a lot more user friendly. So we're hoping that's the case. We updated the 941A report to account for employees that do not have FICA or Medicare taxes withheld, and the no taxable earnings were double counted. We corrected that. So just some minor updates to the new 941 calculation. We updated the payroll benefits to be calculated based on taxable earnings only. We added the ability to delete third-party sick pay records. We noticed that we didn't, when you entered third-party sick pay, there was no way to delete them. So let me go show that. And nope, there it is. Okay. In payroll, you go to third-party sick pay. I can add a new row, and now there's a little X. So I put in $12, tab off. And now I can click delete, and it'll delete the row. When I come back in, the one row that was added was gone. So we just added the ability to delete rows in third-party sick pay. We added a new MERS export file called MERS Healthcare Savings Plan. So if I go into deduction types and I go to the MERS, let's see. we have a new one called MERS Healthcare Savings Plan for that deduction. And so then if you go into MERS export file, we now have the MERS Healthcare Savings Plan. So hopefully the Excel spreadsheet will print out the proper MERS Healthcare Savings Plan. It's slightly different from the other plans. There's not a whole lot of difference, but it's just another upload file. So we just wanted to highlight that we added a healthcare savings plan format for uploading. We added a label to my work permissions for clarity on which mode the user is on. So if I go into time card permissions and I'm looking at an employee and I click on view permissions, now you can say this is its permissions. Because before I didn't say anything. And then if you hit cancel and they go to modify, now it says exceptions, which is exactly what this is supposed to be, the exceptions to the rules that you outlaid up front. So just no actual change, just to make it clear on what mode you're on. So that way you're not like, wait, where's my check boxes? You remember, because I've done it before where I accidentally clicked view permissions thinking I was editing them. So just something for a little bit more clarity. And then obviously something we'll be covering later is we updated the help document. We spent some time making because that hadn't been updated in a few years, so we felt like we needed to get that up to date. So one of the big topics today is the new ESTA rules. The state of Michigan did release, the House, I believe it was, passed some new laws, amendments to the ESTA to try to help make it easier on employers for this new act. So the first thing I want to point out is that cogitates bank calculation. We do handle any of the new changes, and at this time, we don't have any plans to update our bank calculation. Obviously, we'll be closely monitoring the situation to see if we need to make any changes. Most of these new rules are related to how you guys, as road commissions and municipalities, are going to handle these changes, as opposed to there's anything we have to do. But also, if there's something that you want us to do, when you are more than happy to call us and we can kind of talk through if there are any changes that we need to make in bank calculation. So most of this is just informational related to the new laws. So the new carryover cap, they specify that the new carryover cap at 72 hours. Before it was unlimited, the amount that you could roll over each year was unlimited, and now they specify you can cap it at 72 hours. Again, you don't have to, but you now have the ability to. Also, if you front load the 72 hours, then it becomes a use it or lose it. You don't have to carry overs. It's not required. So if you're doing it through the hours earned, where 1 hour worked equals 30 hours of sick time, then it is not a use it or lose it. But if you do front load the employees at the beginning of the year for the 72 hours, then it can become a use it or lose it. If an employer chooses the accrual method, meaning the one hour for every 30 hours worked, then the usage can begin at the 120th day for new employees. So the old rule stated employees can start using it 90 days after date of hire. Now the new rule is 120 days after if you choose the accrual method, and this should help with seasonal employees because a lot of times they don't work maybe 120, 130 days out of the season, so they won't they won't be able to use much of this ESTA that's supposed to help seasonal employees because obviously I know a lot of you guys do have seasonal employees. So, and that's again only if you choose the accrual method and not front load the hours. So if you choose to front load the hours, the 90-day rule still applies where you can only limit, they can start using them after 90 days if that's how you go. Again, you don't have to limit it to they can start taking it out after 90 days, but that's just the max that you can prevent them from using it. The rate of pay for ESTA is clarified as the employee's regularly hour rate rather, not and they don't get any holiday, no overtime pay, no any kind of sick pay. It's just the new laws clarified that it's just their regular hourly wage. So they just made a clarification on that. The time now may be used in 1 hour increments or the smallest increment used for what they consider absences use of other time. The old rules did not give the employer option to choose. It was always in the smallest increment used. So now you can just say if you're going to take an hour of ESTA, you could just say you're going to take an hour, even if you're only gone for like 25 minutes. Again, that is up to you, or you can do, or it's the smallest increment you allow your employees to take time off. So if you allow your employees to take up to 15 minutes of PTO for something, then that would be the smallest increment you will allow. Again, I want to reiterate that this is your guys' policy, but I just want to make you aware of some of these laws, so you changes, so you can make your decisions how you want to approach this. So earned sick time is retained for 2 months after an employee is separated. If the employee is rehired after 2 months, then the earned sick time is reinstated. The original rule had the hours retained if rehired within 6 months of separation. So again, this should help with seasonal workers. You hire somebody, April through August or September, and then you let them go through the winter, or vice versa, and then they get rehired that following spring for the summer. Well, a lot of times 6 months hadn't gone by between the time you hired them and the time you let them go. So you originally you would have had to keep their sick time hours. Now, after 2 months, you'll have to keep it up 2 months. So that should really help with seasonal employees. So seasonal employees don't end up with 72 hours of sick time when they only work 120, 150 days. So those are the major rule changes. Obviously, there's still some that document we sent out has a lot more information on some of the details. You can also look it up on Michigan. Leo has more information on that. This is just to kind of give you an overview of some of the changes to the law. I'm going to pause here for a minute and to see if there are any questions. Again, I do want to reiterate a lot of these, you know, max carryover, um, and all that. They're just the max. Um, you can do them like with the 90 days or 120. You can let them take ESTA early, but that's up to you guys. These are just the max amounts that you can limit your employees to. All right, we do have a couple of questions. Is there a video to show how to set up a new EST bank? Yes. Let me go into Pro Fund Accounting. So in bank types, I believe we have a video. I know we have a video on bank types. I'm not sure if ESTA is involved, but for the accrued method, what you're going to want to do is set up a new bank, which I have right here. I call it the EST description, and then you're going to want to go to Calc Type 5, which is add in the value on parameter 1 based on hours. You can enter in this earnings start date, so obviously since it started on 2/21 of 2024, you can check the pay codes that you want that will accrue. And then you go default, and then you go into default, you go from bank details to default values, and then you can enter in the amount to add, which is 1 for every 30 hours worked. So that is kind of, I believe we have a video on it. Let me check the help, see if the help document. This is one of our new help documents. I don't know if no, our new help document does not have a ESTA specific, but that's how you do it. You go into bank details, you go into add value and parameter based on hours work, enter the starting earnings date, and then check the pay codes that the hours will count for that 30 hours. And as said before, 1 hour of overtime counts as 1 hour worked. There's no additional like overtime. You get 1.5 hours technically. It's just one for one. And then you go into default values, enter a one. That's the amount to add to the bank. And this is the amount for every X amount of hours worked, which in this case is 30. And yes, February's webinar does explain how to set it up. And also, just in case you're curious, the 72 hours, it comes directly from the state of Michigan. So that's not a number that we at Cogitate came up with. It's the number they use. So okay. Let me think about that one. I don't know if we have, I believe we did make a report.
Oh, is there
Oh,
one?
there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now again.
Okay. Question one is
What is the best report to run in Cogitate to keep track of the hours?
of
If for the ESTA, if they accrue 1 hour for every 30 hours worked.
that would be showing bank history. So that would be one of the be a PR bank one. I'd have to look it up. So it'd be PR bank. B is at the beginning. So possibly PR bank activity by period would be a good one. Either or PR bank audit is the only two that I could think of that would be reasonable. So possibly PR audit by data. I forgot about that one. No, that's just PR. That's not bank audit. Either one of those two are the only two we have that's going to show the additions as they come in.
Okay.
And then what was the other question?
I'm assuming does our bank calc do partial hours? For if there were 40 hours, will it give them 1.33 hours?
No, it just gives one per 30 and then holds the remaining hours as the next time to bank up. If you look at the new thing, that's how they want you to do it. So in other words, you don't, if you're doing a calc and the calc goes, I've got 40 hours, what we'll do is it'll bank 10, give them 1 hour for the 30. And then when they come back, the next time they hit the next 30, they'll get another hour. However, if you want a better delineation, you can still give them a half hour for every 15 days or, make a smaller delineations and so that bank time won't be as high as, 29 hours.
Yeah, so you can do instead of 1 hour, you can do
Yeah,
0.5.
Oh, no, 1.5, 0.5.
Wait,
Yep, 0.5. Nope,
I got it.
0.5.
That's right. It's 0.5. There we go.
And 15 hours.
And 15 hours. So that will give them,
Oh, 154, that's even better.
so that will give them a half an hour for every 15 hours worked.
That way then the break is only 15 hours. And if you want to go even further for a quarter hour, make that 7.5. You don't have to, Paul.
Okay.
That's the idea here is as long as the ratio is 1 hour for every 30, you can make that anything you want to keep the ratios down low. But, right now it's just 1 for 30. But that way we have it so that you can simply just, make, the hours get held in lieu of the actual work for them to get it. So they, we did not want to get into the 0.333333 kind of situations where we have to do rounding in this. We wanted to try to keep it straight and easy for everybody to understand. Is that my two questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'm going to go back and make sure that the rest of the people don't tap the keg too soon.
All right. Are there any more questions on ESTA? And I hope that answered them. If that didn't, then you can give us a call afterwards and we can explain it in more detail. Yeah, that is a good question. Um, here we did front load the ESTA. So that's how we did it. I imagine it's easier to front load them if they are 24 per quarter. Okay. I imagine, like, since we're all salaried here, it's easier to front load them. That's it. Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah, the union is um your union contract, I believe, supersedes most of this law. So they go with union first, but your next union contract will have should have stuff in there as according to what the state documentation says. Um, the thing about front loading it and the Sick Time Act, they now clearly outlay the conditions on which this can be used. So it just can't be used for any kind of sick time. There is specific conditions on what it could be used, and I recommend you all look that up. And it's in the document again that we sent out last week. If you guys missed that, we could send it out again, or you just look it up on Leo, which is the state of Michigan um, labor website to get more information on specific conditions. So I believe it's calculated after every pay period, and then it could be reset. This is another one that you're going to have to look into on the laws. It can be either reset annually or it could be reset on the anniversary date. Typically, it's the anniversary date, but they did allow they did allow some leeway on when you can actually reset the employees' banks. And I believe it's per pay period. Unless, of course, you front load it, then it's just on the either the you can front load it on their anniversary date or you can front load it at the beginning of the your fiscal year or the calendar year rather. And if somebody hears something different from their auditor or a different state representative than what we've been saying, then please let us know so we can look into it to see if there was something that was changed that we weren't aware of or we just missed something in their documentation. So we want to make sure that we are on top of any changes the state of Michigan has to this because there are still several pending changes that are not official yet. So we want to make sure we are on top of that in case there needs to be any changes made to our bank calculation or our bank setup. All right, if there are no more questions on ESTA, I'll be moving on to the updated help document. So we hired back in September, we hired a person to do our documentation for us because we realized our help document was sorely out of date and we don't have time to do the help document and develop software and do everything we do and continually to help. The help document kept getting pushed, on the back burner. So we decided it was time to hire somebody to update the help document because that is an important part of our software. So the main menu items like bank calculation now has been updated to a lot of these have been updated. A lot of them were updated a while ago, but obviously we've made changes to a lot of these menu items. So so the help document should be now constantly being updated to reflect our latest updates. It may not always be 100% up to date, but it should be last up to date. Because I think if you go into the welcome page, oh, I had it open twice. That's why. Uh, oh, there isn't. That's what I'm looking for. See, it was updated before it said October 2021, so it had been just over 3.5, almost 3.5 years since we last touched this. So we are pleased that we are getting this up to date. I believe bait types is another one that got updated just with the new screens. A lot of the content's the same, but we just updated the screens Because before I know it didn't have the default values. And some things we took a look at and tried to make the help document a lot better. So that way, if you have questions, the help document may actually be useful. Because I know a lot of this stuff was out of date. I believe we updated payroll types. So there are multiple ways to get to the help documents. One on the home screen, there's a help at the top that'll go right to our help document, and you can see all the modules, all our different menu items, and all that. The second way is you can go into payroll types, you right click on the menu, you can go to the watch video. We also are updating, by the way, we are also updating all the videos because I know a lot of the videos haven't been updated with the latest, so we have and we will be doing some more video updates and enhancing the videos to make them easier to understand and to follow. So we'll be doing a lot of that work. And then you can click on help and it'll pop automatically to the menu item that you're on. So like if I'm under time card permissions, I click the help, it'll automatically load into time card permissions. And then the third option was if you click time card permissions, at the top of that screen, there is also the help icon. So that so those are three different ways you could get to the help icon. And also in settings, I believe it's under there was a setting here that was related to the help icon. I don't remember which one it was. But if you because we have an online version of the help icon as well, but I don't remember which one that was for. So I am not sure which if because we also have it as a online document. So there was a setting in settings that you could set that would make it go to the online and to the web browser instead of just pop up as a window like this. So, but we have put a lot of work into making sure that our help document is up to date. So, is there any more questions on the help document? All right. The last thing I wanted to cover on the webinar is under general ledger. Last year at the end of January, we introduced a new menu item, two of them actually. One of them was for your financials, and the other is just the reporting. So I want to kind of go over that. I also want to see how many people are actually using it. So if you could put in the chat if you guys are using it, I kind of want to give an overview. And if there are any changes and updates that would make it better, please let us know. We're always looking to improve our software. The only change that we are currently thinking about doing is inside the financials, adding a prior for the budget rows, adding priority so they'll be displayed first on the Excel spreadsheet. But like I said, we want to know if you guys are using it, if you like it, if you don't like it, and all that. So I'm going to go through a quick overview. So the first thing you notice when you load in is you have all your funds for each year listed with the white color meaning that the financials have been created for that fund, and the gray color meaning there are no financials created. So I'm going to go ahead and click on clear the financials because I want to clear them for last year. And obviously this is for last year, so it's going to give you a warning. And I want to say yes because I do want to clear it. And then I want to go ahead and click edit view. And because I don't have it created, it's asking me if I want to create it, which I want to use last year's actuals to create all my expense and revenues, starting dollar values. And then I want my default balance sheet lines to be just the defaults. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create financials. And it outlays all your revenue and expense accounts in a nice budget format where you can click on a cell and like type in and there's your budget. But currently, the default position is budgeting at the fourth level. So all the accounts listed here are at the fourth. Okay. This goes to the third and the fourth level. Just the fourth level. But then when you click on add account, you can add an account at any level. We do allow budgeting at any level. So like I can add this and it will add that to the bottom. It'll add that right here. So we do allow budgeting at any level. If you want certain accounts to be at the seventh level, and then you would just want them rolled up to the fourth level, then we do allow that. Down here we have what's called our monthly trends, and this is the amount of budget that will get applied to each month. And month one does correspond with your fiscal year start month. So month one should be the start of your fiscal year and not necessarily January 1st. So like for if your fiscal year starts July 1st or October 1st, month one would be either July or October. Here we have, if you type in a number, it'll adjust all your selected budget cells by that amount. So I'm going to go highlight a bunch. Let's get one that has a good bit. Here we go. I'm going to highlight a bunch of cells. I'm going to click 2, so it should update these cells by 2%. I click apply changes, and it asks me. And it did indeed, if you saw that, it did indeed update it by 2%. I saw some of these numbers get updated, so let's see, we have a couple of questions in chat. Okay. Yep. I go to the third, and the financial menu item didn't the last time I tried. All right. Carrie, I might give you a call afterwards to see if there's something else going on. Okay, budget calc, yeah. Mostly because, yeah, that's one thing that we are considering. We're trying to figure out how to properly do it where you can prioritize budget lines so that they show up in the order that you want them and not just the order that they come in from the database. So like I said, that we're still thinking about how exactly we want to do that. So, and then also the monthly trends, like if you update, say, this to 5 and then click apply changes, the last month will always get the leftovers, or if you change it from like 8.33 to 10, we'll always start with the last month of your fiscal year. So just keep that in mind that this is the month that's always getting updated. That's kind of like our hold month because all these percentages have to equal obviously 100% or else the math has to work out. So I just kind of want to point that out. If you reduce any one of these columns, it starts with the 12th. So obviously if you want the 12th to be lower, you'll have to change some of these other columns to get the 12th to be what you want it to be. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. And then also we have a special area in our financial statements that'll show that also includes a fringe rate calculation, so you can kind of estimate what your fringe expense is going to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 there so I can show that. I'm gonna save. Then the second tab we have is adjustments, where you can add adjustments to your budget. So I'm gonna go ahead and add an adjustment. You see there's our current budget. I'm going to say we want to budget another 10,000. They'll show your new total and add it to our list. I want to make sure I save it. So now, and this has the effective date is important here because in our financial statements, depending on what date you choose to show the end date, if the adjustment is after the end date, it won't be shown in the financial statements. So And also, if you look at the budget amount won't change, but you can see the adjustment on the in the adjustments tab. And then the third and final tab is our balance sheet tabs, where we allow you to enter in your assets, liabilities, and your fund balance accounts. So the default one just adds everything at the third level. So it takes each asset account at the third level and creates a line item based on the description that the third line has. So like operating fund has your operating fund asset account, your investment account. Again, you could do this at any level. You can select any asset account and add it to the list. You can remove an account. You can change the line item name. This line item name is the name that will show up on the financial statement. So I'm just going to go ahead and click investment, and then you'll see the accounts. I want to make sure I have data, so I'm going to go. I believe that has data. And then same with liabilities. Obviously, it works the same way. You can remove, you can delete a line item, you can add a new line item and type in the name. And then add in any asset account. I want this one at, and it should add it. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it added it at the fifth level. So we like I said, we allow it at any levels. So that before I go into the financial statements, does anybody have any additional questions on the modifying your budget and your balance sheet? Also, I can actually show that here. And I gotta select the fund. We do have an option that says use previous year's budget and copy. So you can just copy your balance sheet lines. Okay. Copy from balance sheet lines from the previous year. So that way you don't have to keep setting them up each year. And then you can obviously use previous year's actuals. You can use previous year's actuals minus your cost of roads, or you could just create a whole new empty budget. So we do allow you to keep going where that's you don't have to keep setting it up year after year after year if you got the balance, especially in the balance sheet lines, if you got that set up the way you like it. So now I'm going to go into our financial statements, which is our Excel. It is an Excel spreadsheet where you go ahead and it'll list all your different financials. You have your fiscal year, your fund, and the description. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. You can put an end date here. I am not because it defaults to if the date is empty, it defaults to the end of your fiscal year. So I just want to do fiscal year 2023. There are checkboxes here. I want to include any unassigned accounts at the bottom. So you'll see a line for unassigned asset accounts that have data. If they have any dollar amounts, they'll be put here if you didn't actually assign them to any one of our balance sheet lines. And then I also want to include fringe so that way I can see the fringe column when I get to the budget details. So the first spreadsheet is your balance sheet where you have your assets, your liabilities, and then your equity fund. All these numbers directly come from your obviously your data. And as you can see here with that investments, that's the line name I changed. So obviously you can name these any name you want. You can click the little arrow underneath and it'll show what account has the the dollar amounts. Now, I do want to point out here in the balance sheet, if you have an account twice, we will show it twice because you may want to display the same account number in different in under different line items. You want to show that account that asset account or that liability account. We don't really control, double counting only in the balance sheet side. So you're going to have to make sure if you want to see all the numbers once, that's fine. And then obviously at the bottom we have the balance sheet difference, which is 0. So, and these numbers are the sums. I believe these numbers themselves are just numbers, but all the headers are formulas, so you can easily see the formula here in the formula bar, how that was. So if you need to change anything, you can just type in a number and it should automatically update our formulas here on the balance here in the balance sheet. The second sheet I want to go to is your budget details. Now this will hold all your budgeted accounts. And we have our budget column. Obviously, we have an adjustments column, and I put in that adjustment. And then the actual for the year, how much, or for the date range that you specify here. It's not just for the year. You can do this any date range. And this date range covers the actual data and the adjustment. If you typed in you had an adjustment on 10/1 of 2023 and you typed in a date of 7/1 of 2023 for the end date, the adjustment would not show up here. And actuals would obviously only come through the day through until 7/1. So, and then we have the difference, and then we have the percent difference. How much percent are you off by? And then at the bottom we have the total, which is just the sum of these columns. And as you can see, we do have um, and all budget lines are displayed here, even if you don't have you didn't budget or have any data for. So I just also want to point that out. But here's the 7 level account that I assigned. That'll show here. Now here we do not double count. So if you have, let's say, let me go under here, the 466, 467 primary road maintenance. If you specified several 7-layer level 7 accounts for budgeting as well as this one, we will not double count the actuals. They will get subtracted from the 4th level and be displayed at that 7th level. So you can so that way you can see without having to worry about that being double counted. We made sure that we didn't double count and on the budget side because that's double. We don't want to double count. Now over here you can see we have fringe rate, which is just the labor amount of your expenses multiplied by your fringe rate of, in this case it's 2, which is taken directly from here. You can change this at any time, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to a 4. And then if I click load financials and I go back there, it should update it to a 4, as it does. And it'll change all these numbers. So if I click on this and I click on that, you can see that the 4 is highlighted, multiplied by this amount, which is the labor amount from your 458, 459 account. You can also just go in here manually and say type in a 6, and all these numbers got updated. So I just and then we add it back in here for your actuals. If you notice, your actuals also change because they are tied to the fringe amount if you want to see what your fringe expense is going to be. Obviously, you can also go ahead and remove if you don't want to see that. You can go ahead and remove, or you can just not click on that and it won't include it in this column. So let me go ahead and show that. Go down here. Yeah, it doesn't include it. It just gets rid of it completely. Okay. That's what I thought. And obviously here is just your profit and loss. It's just all your revenue accounts and all your expense accounts. So that is just your generic profit and loss look. Like I said, we have the drill down so you can see. I believe these are all seven level accounts. So this is it's just your generic profit and loss spreadsheet. You can save it to Excel. You know, obviously you click save to Excel, it'll save it to an Excel spreadsheet. So if you want to use all of the Excel features, once you have this created, you can do that. And then each month one, remember month one is your fiscal year month and not the calendar. Now there is a bug where right now it actually is the calendar, but our next update will fix that. I found that out that it turns out that we weren't honoring that just for the month look. So um when our next update comes out either this week or next week, I'm not 100% sure when that'll be, but that will be fixed. So yeah, but it's just all it is the monthly amount. As you can see the formula budget details C6 times 8.33, obviously divided by 100 because it's supposed to be it's a percent. So if I go to C6, that is C6, and there was our budget detail, which is 8.33, which is the trend that we had set. And that's divided by 100 to get your monthly budgeted amounts. And then the actuals are just the actuals from that month. And for adjustments, we just decided that if your adjustment is within the end date that you give, we will spread it across the 12 months based on the trend. We won't try to be like, if you did a $10,000 adjustment um say halfway through your fiscal year, we won't try to be like, oh, it only counts for a certain amount. It'll just be evenly distributed based on your trends throughout the whole year. So we just decided that that's probably the best way to do it. And as you can see in month two, there's the 5 that I had typed in earlier as a trend. So you can see that that's how the trend is being applied. And so if you go to month 12, you'll see the 11.667, and that just means that 11.667, you expect that almost 12% of your budget amount will come in your last month of your fiscal year. So that was an overview. I believe, I'm not sure. Do we have a video? We do have a video on that. We will be updating our help document to include those items. So does anybody have any questions about financials? And I'm also going to now open it up to any questions in general. I know that was a lot of information. So, and again, if you start using financials and there's something you guys don't like or want to have some suggestions, we are more than happy to take a look and see if that's something we want to put out, because we're, like I said, we're always looking to improve our software based on your guys' needs. And again, if you think of any questions later, you can always send us an email through our support or to either me directly or president@hydroclinic.com, or give us a call at our support line and we'll be more than happy to answer any additional questions you have. So if there are no questions, then thank you guys all for coming, and I do hope you have a great March, and I will see you guys again in April.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.